Smart24, driving business.
$110 million. The same component, same description. So I think we just need to expand or merge. That is clear. Yeah.
Thank you. I have another colleague who came in. Can introduce you. Have a mic there? Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Minister and your staff. My name is Florence Kabo, Woman MP, Kasese District.
Thanks, Florence. Oh, Shadow Minister. By the way, Honour Minister, your Shadow Minister is there. She can introduce herself. Your colleague.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. My name is Joyce Bagala Ntwatwa. I am the Woman Member of Parliament, Mityana District, and the Shadow Minister for Information and Anti-Corruption.
Thank you very much. I think, Honour Minister, we are going to open up the floor to the members to raise some issues so that you can get some clarification from your side. So I think, oh, you haven't introduced, oh yeah, I forgot that you haven't.
Chair, thanks. Honorable Minister and the colleagues, I'm called Kamba Ferigo. I'm Member of Parliament representing people of Kasese Municipality.
Thank you very much. So I think, members, the floor is yours to raise some clarifications, any questions you have. I will start with Haji and Alex. You had that burning issue. You can start off with that. Then I will open up to the other members.
Thank you. Chair, the issue I had was in line with the certificate of gender and equity compliance. The digital transformation failed to meet the minimum standard and it did not get that certificate of gender and equity compliance. And it is not the first time. The other time they got the certificate, Chair, but that certificate again left out some groups under the vulnerable groups that were brought on board. And I remember I raised it in this committee, and the ruling of Chair then was that they are going to improve next financial year. But now this financial year, they have not even got that certificate of gender and equity compliance. And this is a constitutional mandate. I want to know from them why they want to violate the provision of the Constitution. And two, what plans do they have to address this? Because, Chair, I wouldn't want to go in the budget committee and frustrate the approval of the ICT budget where I fall. But if it continues to be like this, then I will end up doing that. And I know my lobbying skills. I can't fail to convince the budget committee. But I want to know the plans that they have to address this pertinent issue because it is affecting my constituents as well.
Thank you very much. Does Alex want to add on?
Chair, what Onumpindi is talking about the constitutional requirement under Article 32 of the Constitution on affirmative action and the rights of marginalized groups. It is also a constitutional requirement under Article 33 on the rights of women. These are all our national values, which we all cherish. Therefore, Chairman, when the Public Finance Management Act was being enacted, we may also made it a requirement that the Minister of Finance must always submit the certificate of compliance with gender and equity when presenting the budget to Parliament and the budget framework papers. Chair, the same applies to our rules of procedure. Under Rule 144, the Minister submits budget framework papers together with the certificate of compliance with gender and equity. This means that, and as the President already said, the Minister of Finance cannot lay on table the budget framework papers and the certificate, but the budget framework papers and the budget without this certificate cannot, have never been. On 2 occasions, when the Minister tried, Speaker said, you go back. Now, Chair, what Onimpindi is saying that for our sector, our city sector, fail to get a certificate. Because it's situated below the minimum of 10%. It is like going to school after senior 4. You failed H1, the marks required to be given a certificate, honorable certificate. So, Chairman, Chair, this is a very difficult situation. Very difficult situation. It is true. Someone in the budget committee or anywhere can block you and stop you with proceeding with the consideration of the budget. It happened. So, yeah, I'm thinking that there is no shortcut. There is no shortcut. The options are only 2. The options are only 2. Put on hold consideration of the budget for this sector until compliance is obtained. That's option number 1. Another option, but that option is not very safe. Second option is for our friends to go back, pick up the Commission and the Ministry of Finance and present you a written commitment and plan indicating that in the next budgeting period, they will be able to fulfill the requirements. Written commitment, when you appear in the committee, you try to lobby and say, we have a problem, please help us, and from next year, there will be no problem at all. The budget committee is a written commitment, and the plan indicating that you'll be able to realize the commitments. So, Chair, Minister can respond, but I'm an expert in these matters. I handle similar issues in the last parliament. I think.
I think. Thank you very much. I think. Thank you, Alex, and Haji, because they are the experts anyway on the committee as far as these issues are concerned. Minister, maybe you can clarify. One, do you have a gender desk in the Ministry of ICT? Number 1, and number 2, did you actually submit your BFP for assessment for this? Because maybe they are saying you haven't, but actually maybe you just didn't submit your BFP for assessment. Do you have a certificate? Did you submit for assessment? Maybe clarify on that, because we want to make sure that if Alex is saying you failed, we want to make sure that actually you actually participated in the exams and you failed. Not that actually you didn't even participate in the exams.
Thank you, Chair. I will answer one, then my technical officers will answer another. For the certificate from Equal Opportunities, we have already submitted the application, and we are going to follow it up to ensure. But what I would beg is the budget, we can continue with the budget framework papers, we follow up on these issues. But we have already applied to Equal Opportunities, and we are waiting for a response from them. I think for the gender desk, the PS can explain that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just explain. Since it is very serious, let them explain, then we can come back to you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister and Chair. In regards to the gender and equity concerns, we do not have a desk in the ministry, but we have a unit of policy and planning that takes care of the gender and equity issues. When it comes to the budgetary requirements, we are supposed to capture our contribution as a sector to gender-related issues, and this we have within our budget framework paper. Maybe we just need to go back and clarify exactly what these sections are, but we have handled that.
Chair, I want to get clarity either from the minister or the PS. You see that the categories of gender has different groups. And what happened last financial year, they did something on the youth and maybe the women, but they didn't almost do something on the side of person with disability. And the issue was, but they have made the 50%. And the 50% was sidelining a certain group of people. How does that look like for this financial year? Because you said you've submitted and you are waiting the Equal Opportunities Commission maybe to approve. Does it bring on board every category under that gender?
Yes,
gender equity.
Honorable Chair and members. Yes, it does take care of all categories. We take care of the youths, the women, people with disabilities, and we actually have programs on some of the projects that UCC is conducting where we have handled people with disabilities. I think at the close of the year, we had a conference that was organized by UCC. And I think the Honorable Member of Parliament was there as well, where we launched a strategy that is supposed to handle people with disabilities. So we are conversant of it and taking care of it.
I think on that issue, the good thing is that we have started the discussions for the 2023-2024 budget. It's just preliminary discussion. So I think between the next two months, they should have delivered the certifications you need to your satisfaction. I think, as we discuss the budget framework paper, they have the time now to deliver the documentation as per our experts. So I think Alex and Haji will monitor you to ensure that you are compliant, especially as we come close to finalizing the budgeting process, Mr. Minister.
Much obliged, Mr. Chair. We are going to work on this. And I think we shall work closely with the experts.
With the two experts, exactly.
Exactly.
Okay.
Since they are also members of this committee.
Okay. Yes, Campbell.
Chair, thank you. I have read through the talking notes of the minister, and he indicated that under critical financing gaps and challenges, he has indicated how the Directorate of National Guidance was not provided with any operational funds. But, Chair, I expected from the minister under critical financing gaps and challenges to indicate the crisis the country is in right now as far as free-to-air services is concerned. Countrywide, free-to-air services are off, especially up country. Me, as a member of parliament from Kasese, I'm already a victim. And when I made some simple consultations, I was informed that satellite services have not been paid for, and there's that huge bill to clear, and yet I have not seen that being mentioned in the report of the. What I've only seen is the directorate not to be financed. That is one. Then, Chair, the same report indicates that the ministry has an overall budget deficit of 4.9 billion for the financial year 2023-2024. But from the paper we shared yesterday, the approved budget for 2022-2023 for the ministry is 124.226 billion. Proposed allocation for 2023-2024 is 176.7 billion, including implying that if you compare the proposed allocation for the coming year with what was approved for this year running, there's an increment of 52 billion. Now, after having that increment of 52 billion for the coming financial year, the minister has indicated that they have a deficit of 4.92 billion. So I wanted some clarification because as far as I'm concerned, the proposed allocation has been increased by 52 billion compared to the financial year running. And here again, they are indicating to us they have a shortfall of 4.92 billion. I wanted some clarification on that. Then finally, I also wanted to know from the ministry that one of the gaps you have mentioned to us is that the Department of Guidance, the Directorate of Guidance and National Guidance has not been provided for this running year. Now that we have this increment of 52 billion for the allocation of the coming year, we need clarification. Whereas there was a problem this running financial year, has this been addressed for the coming financial year? Because now we are here looking at the budget framework paper for next financial year. I beg to seek that clarification.
Okay. Thank you. Goretti then.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, mine is about the minister presented very well that Uganda's ICT sector is one of the most vibrant. But we've seen that the growth of the ICT sector is at 0.5% versus 6% for the last 4 years. Could you kindly clarify on the growth and the vibrancy you are talking about?
I beg your pardon?
You indicated in your talking points that the ICT sector is one of the most vibrant and fastest growing sector in the region. But according to records and research, the growth of the ICT sector is at 0.5% compared to the expected growth of 6% for the last 4 years. Can you clarify more on what you meant by the growth, much as for us we are seeing that you are not moving? Two, Madam Permanent Secretary, would like to know how many people do you have in acting capacity in line of staff? The staff in the ICT sector, how many do you have in acting capacity? The other one is the Honorable Minister talked about, we know we are implementing, looking at the budget framework paper in line with the BFP, in the line with the National Development Plan 3, then the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility and the NRM Manifesto. Honorable Minister, can you give us a copy of the NRM Manifesto so that we can also tally and mark your performance in line with what you are talking about? Then performance of the parish development model in regard to profiling. The minister indicated that we are at 48%, but you are aware that according to His Excellency's program, this is the game changer, the magic bread, and one of the transformational programs that we have so that we can have the household incomes improved and their quality of lives. What plans do you have to ensure that you improve on the rate of profiling so that we can see the parish development model fully functional as you've alluded in your submission? Then when you look at a copy of the release performance for half year against the approved budget for the financial year 22-23, it indicates that your releases were at a rate of 77%, though 77%, the Minister of ICT, though 95% is for recurrent and only 13% is for development. What plans do you have to ensure that you implement at least the key critical activities in this financial year? Because if you've received only 13% for the last 6 months, what plans do you have to implement your work plan as per the year 22-23? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shadow Minister.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, the Minister, for the presentation. I read the notes, the talking notes, and also the budget framework paper, and I'd like to know how much money was released in the second quarter. It's not indicated, but I would like to know the release for the second quarter. I assume that you're waiting for the release for the third quarter. So I would like to know how much money the ministry got in the second quarter. Also, assuming the same amount of money that is meant for wages that was released in quarter one was the same amount released for quarter two for wages. How much money is in arrears and how many people are affected in the sector? Then the BPF also indicates that PDM information system was launched and indeed rolled out in all parishes across the country. And that there's an operational manual. I would like to look at that manual, the operational manual for the information system of a PDM, and also data collection. You said the entire country, and I would like to know, first of all, where's the manual? Number two, I am very much aware that most of the parishes do not have electricity, let alone internet, network. So if all the parishes you have rolled out, I want to know, because there are places where they don't even have computers. I come from Mitiana. Probably you will tell me, you'll give me information from Mitiana where I come from. Can the ministry also prove that the entire country has internet connectivity? Because I am sure it doesn't. Can you please update us on the different projects that were funded in Q1 and Q2, particularly the backbone infrastructure and Wi-Fi hotspots across the country? The other, Goretti talked about it. I would like to look at the NRM manifesto, particularly on the ICT and the government assurances therein. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm actually asking Goretti and Shadow Minister. You actually don't have the NRM manifesto. It is a public document. It is what you critique. So I think, Honourable Minister, members, they can answer those queries first. Then we'll come back for a second round. So I think, Honourable Minister, that will be the first round. Then we'll come back for the second round. You can at least touch on those queries first.
Thank you very much, Chair. Probably if I start with that one, with the NRM manifesto, I will avail it to my friend, the Honorable Goretti, and my shadow minister. That one, be sure by tomorrow morning it will be in your pigeonholes, because I'm really so excited to give it to Honorable Goretti and the shadow minister.
Plus a t-shirt each.
Plus a t-shirt each. Yeah, thank you, Chair, and other members for bringing out these pertinent questions. Some of them I'm going to answer, but some I will pass over to my technical officers. For Honorable Ferigo, the free-to-air issue. Last year, this committee lobbied seriously, and the Committee on Budget accepted that we should get more money. And UBC was allocated 9.7 million shillings more. That money has never been released. And that money was supposed to handle that problem partly. Because it is only this country in East Africa that has not yet completed the migration from analog to digital. And because we have issues with our satellites and the like. So that 9.7 million which you lobbied for UBC was supposed to solve some of those problems. But up to now, we have not received even a single coin. I still remember even there was a presidential directive that we get another 2.4 billion to boost the local newspapers, Rumuli, Rupin, and some other newspaper. And that money has also never been received, even when the committee lobbied and it was appropriated. So those are the problems we are facing in the sector. UBC is totally underfunded. You lobbied for money, it has never been released. But I think the MD of UBC will shed more light on that issue because he's an expert in that. The issue of percentage increases and the fastest growing ICT sector, the PS is an expert in ICT, is going to give us more light on that. And then our problem of national guidance not received, it is next financial year when we don't have an allocation for next financial year. The indicative planning figures which have been given, we don't have money for communication and national guidance. But this year, this financial year, we have some money, though it is also trickling in slowly, not as per expectation. Just as you see, just as you have observed correctly, first quarter we received only 17%, which implies there are gaps. And what are we going to do? We are still waiting. The year hasn't ended, because every quarter there is some improvement. So we think what we had planned to implement in the first quarter, if they give us more money in the second quarter, we can implement. So I think we can only complain when the year is about to end, because every quarter there is some improvement. Sometimes they give what they didn't give first quarter, they add it on second quarter. So we are praying that this third quarter probably there is improvement. But if there is no improvement, obviously some activities we shall prioritize, just as we do all the time. So we are still waiting, and we are still optimistic that by the end of the year we shall receive all the money, because the year is now halfway. And we are optimistic. We live on hope. And how many people in acting capacity, the PS will handle that, is the chief technical person. And profiling. On Monday, we received the report, the PDM report from Minister of Local Government, and I think he's going to give you the report. Yes, we have only profiled 48% of all households in the country. And obviously, that affects even profiling of parishes. It also affects profiling of districts, then eventually the whole country. And the parish development model is systems driven. But we have put in a request, we need 8.5 billion to complete the profiling. And the last cabinet, obviously, we put up a spirited demand, and they said they were going to look at it. Either if Ministry of Finance doesn't have enough funding, the PDM Secretariat can look for a way of fitting us in. And then we get some money and we start profiling. But also in the event that money doesn't come, we are trying to see whether we can improvise in a way, because now every parish, most of the parishes in the country have parish chiefs. So we can now say, let us train the parish chiefs instead of getting data collectors. We train the parish chief, and the little money we have, we facilitate them so that it is part of their work. They continue profiling every day as a routine, but with some simple facilitation. And that means we have to give them gadgets, those ones who don't have gadgets. So we shall need money for gadgets. And then the parish chiefs who are now in every parish can now do that work of profiling. It might be more cost effective, though it will take time, but we hope if we do that, by end of the year we shall have profiled all households. But we are working around the clock to ensure every household is profiled. And the releases, the PS will work on them, and the salaries and how many have been paid, and those who have not paid, you will also work on that. And the issue of lack of electricity and internet, yes, the whole country obviously is not well served with electricity, but we are looking at several options, and we are working hand in hand with the Ministry of Energy. For instance, we may not get, because when someone talks of computer, say literally, in a layman's, literally someone thinks of a desktop or a laptop, but you know, even a phone is a computer, and which can be charged using some solar equipment, solar gadget. And for us, we are now looking at gadgets which we can take to the parish that are equivalent of a normal phone, because it can do the work and can be charged by a simple solar system. So we are looking at that, but we are also working tirelessly. As you know, the country, the Ministry of Energy is doing all it can to fast track the rural electrification program and ensure electricity reaches every sub-county and eventually a parish. And for us in digital transformation, just as I told you, you have already passed a loan for the last mile, which implies we must take internet, say, to the parishes. And our NITA-U team is here. They will give us an update how far they have gone with it. But for us as a ministry, we want internet everywhere, whether people are using it or not. And you can, because we want the gadgets to find the internet there, and not internet to find the what? The gadgets there. And that will encourage more people to even buy gadgets if internet is available. And we are working tirelessly, but our NITA-U MD after the PS, he will come in and give us an update. But we are obviously have to alert you that we are coming up with another loan now, which is, and as our sector, we need your support, because we are looking for money now to complete the national backbone infrastructure, and very soon we shall be coming in. Because without that one, then even the last mile will not work. But NITA-U is here.
Actually, Minister, maybe just a small interaction there. The members here are not happy with the ministry because you worked on the other loan and you bypassed, because you were discussing with the different committees. You actually didn't take the members and you didn't bring them up to speed as far as that last law was concerned. So they need to understand the implications of the last loan which was passed. Although we supported because it was our sector, they were saying, but these people are taking them for granted. You didn't take time to take through the members to understand actually what they would expect in terms of this loan for the sector. Friendly, they may not be. He was saying that they are not going to be friendly at all next time, most likely. So I'm thinking that when you call the NITA people to come on, they should bring members on up to speed in terms of what to expect with that past loan, and then also for the coming one. Is this also still under NITA? That's also underneath. So at least to explain to the members and engage them early enough for them to understand the impact of that loan to the sector and to the constituencies. Because it is important for them to know that they're not going to talk about ICT if they don't see any results in the constituency as far as the ICT is concerned.
Thank you, Chair. At least you had informed the minister, the senior minister, about it, and he has already informed us. And we would like to apologize for that sort of, there was some sort of oversight, and we are going to handle it. We have all agreed that our committee should have more information than the rest of the parliamentarians, because when we're in parliament, we are supposed to fight together. So it was you brought it to the attention of the minister, and we have brought it to the attention of the technical staff. But we are not going to make that mistake again, because we realized it. We even saw the debate was so rough because we were not together. You didn't have enough information. We are going to work on that, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, the rest of these issues, I be technical. I might be having information, but I want the technical people now to also come in.
Yes, sir.
Chair, before the technical people come in, you see, sometimes I get worried when I see our ministers presenting as if everything is okay, and yet deep inside, they know that some things are not okay. Because if, for example, this committee lobbied for the 9.7 billion for UBC, and up to now, they have not received a coin. And we have the ministers. I normally look at Honorable Chris Bariomus talking with a lot of authority, with as a vibrant minister, but failing to even lobby for the ministry that he heads. And you see, I think it is the worst performing ministry in terms of financing. Then I get worried. What is happening now? When you see the other time we are receiving information that UBC staff have never received the funds. The media council and the media center yes. are almost dead. They are there, but just no money. And we have the vibrant minister talking with the authority. And yet some people go and lobby. I can give you an example. Me and Honorable Ndezi here. We went to the Minister of Finance and lobbied for 8 billion. We spoke to Honorable Kashaija. But who are we compared to Honorable Bariomus and Baruch and Honorable Baruku and maybe the Honorable Tsebuguao? So really, we want to know, Mr. Chairman, what are these ministers going to do to help the Ministry of ICT? Because it is a ministry which, when you look at what they are supposed to do, I've seen here they didn't receive any money on mindset change and what. Yeah. And we keep on lamenting, nothing. The financial, he has stopped saying that. He has said, we know by the end of the financial year, this money will be there. Are you sure? Right.
And some of it was actually allocated to another ministry.
And the money has been allocated to another ministry. And you've kept quiet. As ministers?
Chair, I think they just need to tell us what the priorities are, because if you think that as a committee, we found it necessary to give UBC 9 billion shillings, and you haven't received that money, and you didn't get back to us, and you're not concerned. To us, we get the feeling that maybe UBC is not a priority to government or to this country. The media center, maybe it is not a priority, but what are they doing? When you compare what UBC is doing, what the media center is doing, and what other agencies are doing in terms of communication, I would think that UBC is important, that media center is important. Because if you're going to mobilize, if you're going to do mindset change, which I didn't want, by the way, Chair, you remember very well.
You didn't want them to have a single shilling.
Exactly. Yes. But then, through negotiations with other members, I agreed. Exactly. And now there is no money. It means that this government does not prioritize that.
So, Chair, as I conclude, really, the minister should tell us what is happening, especially when they talk with
their colleagues,
with confidence, as if everything is okay. You get worried. There is something, again, which, Mr. Chairman, annoyed me. I remember towards December, though I was not around, I heard that this committee had an engagement with UCC to get some information. The minister submitted.
Was supposed to have an engagement with UCC. Yes.
The minister submitted, we cannot hide any information from you. We want to give you information. But the ministry blocked that engagement. Yes. It blocked it, and then suddenly, after inviting members, they said, you see, we have postponed to when other members are already in ginger. Can you imagine? And I want the minister to talk about that thing.
Actually, maybe just small information. I didn't want to bring it up here. It's we had booked a calendar for the members, and that item was for the committee to engage with the UCC for 3 days, and everything was set. The members had blocked their days. Then all of a sudden, it is the Monday. We are supposed to be somewhere, and there is no answer from UCC. UCC says we are waiting for the ministry. Now we are waiting for information from the ministry. Monday goes, Tuesday goes, Wednesday goes. Now the members have blocked their days. They are supposed to be engaging UCC, and nothing happened. And okay, I went to find out, but you will clean your house when you find out why it didn't happen. I would want you now to explain to the members why that happened. Me, I know why, but I want it to come from your side. Florence, yes.
Thank you, Chair. Before the minister responds, he has said that in areas where there is poor electricity connectivity, we can use phones as computers. But I'm sure the ministry is aware that the entire country is faced with a challenge of telecommunication network. In that case, how are we going to use phones when there is no network? I'm requesting the ministry to tell us how they are going to face that challenge in the entire country. And my district, where the minister comes from, is also much affected. Thank you.
So it's not just the Signet signal, but even the telecom signal itself is also missing in Kasa.
Yes.
So I think Honourable Minister, you're going to have issues with the brother and sister here very soon. Okay, I think you can clarify on that because I have two colleagues actually who have sent me a message about a network, and it's just in Luwero here. So I'm not understanding even no more. And actually I remember yes. So Honourable Minister.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair and members, and I appreciate your concerns, and I'm happy that you are really talking with a lot of vigor. So we are going to transform that energy into a lobbying energy, because we have to work together to get this money, and that's why I appreciated you pushed for this money to be appropriated. And we are really pushing for it to be released. But now I have two members who have so far negotiated properly and got 8 billion. I think one of these days we shall join efforts and we go there in the Ministry of Finance. You know, this work is not for the ministers alone. We have an ICT committee where we have to work jointly to see that this sector improves and this sector performs. Otherwise, if the ministry doesn't perform, even you as sector committee members will be affected. So let us work together seriously and have this money released. UBC is one of the most important agencies in the government because it is the one which communicates.
Mouthpiece of government.
A mouthpiece of government. Media Center is one center which has brought out all these issues that government wants to disseminate. And indeed, Ofono Pondo is the most hated probably, but also popular person in this country. And because he communicates with a lot of strain, he's not well facilitated. And why we have come here now, we are seeing our sector, we have problems. Ministry of Finance is not releasing money, even money which you have already appropriated. So now we have to join efforts to ensure we capitalize UBC, and then we ensure that Media Center is operating efficiently. That one is my appeal. But we are also putting a lot of efforts. Even in the cabinet on Monday, we put up a spirited fight. Honorable Yumusi has been fighting this with the colleague ministers and technical officers. The PS has camped in the Ministry of Finance several times looking for this money. Because UBC can't operate without that money. And we keep on blaming them, yet we are not financing them. And I would like to put it very clear here, that UBC cannot run commercially. These media centers, mainly owned by government everywhere, even BBC, is not running as a commercial company that will make profit. All of them are subsidized. And that one, I would like to put it categorically clear. So nobody should say, but they have adverts and the like. No, this is a mouthpiece of government which should be well facilitated. And it's my appeal, therefore, that you support us.
On that one, I think even Haji is raising an issue which I thought you should take on with your colleagues, because it is more of a policy issue that you can handle at cabinet level with your colleagues. Why shouldn't they finance UBC? Because it is the mouthpiece of government. And as a priority, why aren't they financing UBC? Like, as you said, BBC, you're spending so much money. If you look at the whole budget of this country in communication, and you can't finance UBC, but you rather give that money to somebody else. So I think at policy level, as Haj was saying, you engage. Or you want us, we can call the Minister of Finance here and engage the Minister of Finance here with you. Chair. And then we can take it from... Yes,
Chair.
Yes.
I think we have to be a bit more serious. We need to engage Minister of Finance, but I want to request the ministry to give us information, quantified. The shadow minister said, what about the releases of the second quarter? We need this information. If UBC has not been financed, to what extent? How much did they budget for? How much has been released so far by Minister of Finance by the end of second quarter? So that we talk when armed with information. We want to call the Minister of Finance here and we ask him, and the press is here. We are going to tell the world that this sector is being undermined. For us, you give us information, for us we shall do the talking. Because for you, they may behave as if they are your bosses. For us, let's talk, but arm us with facts. If UBC is not financed, let's quantify. Media Center is not financed, let's quantify. Not just making general statements. Let's be more serious, Chair.
No, actually, the Honourable Minister, you had the ministry had promised to bring us the second quarter releases today. Actually, in one of the responses, we're supposed to have the second quarter releases. I'm wondering why it's not part of the submission you've given us today.
Chair, that one the PS will give because it's easy. We know it.
Yes, the release for the second quarter. Yes, it was one of the documents you're supposed to bring us today. So I'm wondering why it's not here.
I think when the PS is responding, he's going to say that. Yes. Okay.
Let's get that information.
So I think you can continue.
We are going to do that. Chair. And through you, Chair, I would like to say we are going to give you, honourable members, the information that you need. Because as a sector, we should move together. And that's why I came with all the agencies here, so that they can take note of what the MPs want, the honourable MPs want. Because sometimes when we go around, we tell them this is what the MPs want, and then they drag on and on. But I think what the MP want from us, it is in good faith.
Yes.
And they want to join us in this fight. So these agencies are going to give us all the information, and then we pass it over to you. On the internet, the ED of UCC will give you the figures, but we are working seriously to upscale to see that really internet reaches everywhere. And now it is a licensing condition that every service provider should at least cover 90% of the whole country.
That's
in the past, yes.
That's for NTOs?
Yes.
Okay.
So, because before, you would go where you want, but now it is a licensing condition. If you can't cover 90%, whether you're MTN, Airtel, we don't renew the license. It's now a condition in the license. And to Honorable Flores, I think they are, when you presented the other time, when you gave me the sites, and Honorable Ferigo, they have started now working on some sites. Chitabu now, they are there. And we are also trying to, I think the UCC ED is also going to talk about that. We in places where we feel they will not do well, now we have companies which provide masks. The masks are provided, and then the other telecom companies come to put on their gadgets, so that and we subsidize. We sometimes do co-funding with those companies in areas where we feel the market is not good, and the UCC ED is here. He will give us more light. I will ask members to allow you to give more light. The issue of the meeting, the engagement with the UCC, I would like again to apologize. There was a miscoordination of movement of troops. We are going to handle, and that meeting will take place, that interaction, and we shall ensure such a thing doesn't happen again. But I would also like to appeal to the chair that politely, that sometimes when that engagement is done, at least it should be, the ministry should be what? Should be informed so that we coordinate properly. But sometimes we are also invited as a ministry, and you know, entering someone's home, you must always inform the father and say, you know, your wife has called me for dinner, so I will be at your place. As Kata say, also that is very, very important. But we shall sort out internally.
At least now you're almost getting there. You're almost getting to the gist of it. But I think also on the issue, we met the tower operators as a committee.
Yes.
They raised that they're having issues with certificates. Have you resolved that issue with the certificates from the local governments where they're supposed to put the masts?
I think it is going to raise it, yeah.
Okay.
But every time they have those issues, they should come to us because the local government is a government. So we can, but the ED is going to handle that. Chair, I think you can allow me to ask for the different agencies. This is the time you have. You must articulate your issues very well. Me, I make general statements. But for you now, you should go into details, starting with the PS.
Thank you, Honorable Minister and Chair. I will speak to some of the questions that were particular to the ministry, and then I'll hand over to the rest of the heads of agencies to speak to the rest. There was a question from Honorable Bagala on how much has been released to date for the first half of the year. For the first quarter, the release was the first release was 78 billion, of which 74 was money for pension and gratuity, but we had about 5 billion that was included as an extended release to pay for FIFA. UBC had to pay to air FIFA. We also had to pay for students at UICT that are funded by government, and also some funding, about 2 billion for innovators. So in total, it was about 83.5 billion for quarter one. And then, but of course, the largest percentage was to pay for pensioners. Then the second quarter, we had a release of 50 billion, of which 39 was still for pensioners. So the general observation here is that we have covered money for wages. So there is no area. We don't have any areas in terms of wages and salaries that has been paid up. And for the pensioners, what we got is 30% of expected total pension. So we have paid out 30% to date. But when it comes to operations, UBC has hardly got any money. Ministry has also hardly got any money to run the operations of the ministry. There was a question on how many staff are in acting capacity. Honorable Minister, I think we're going to prepare a write-up on that because we want to give you facts. But we also want to highlight, I think the Minister talked about the fact that we are now working on the schemes of service and norms of ICT cadre and communication cadre. And this is going to help us streamline all the ICT and communication staff in government. The Ministry of ICT does not only have staff within the ministry to work to handle ICT issues, but they span across government. So, Honorable Chair, we request for time to give the numbers.
I hope the cadres are not only NRM.
Sorry?
The communication cadres.
Cadre, yes, cadre are officers.
Yeah. I am hoping they are not only NRM people.
No. Honorable, all officers for government work for all citizens of this country.
But they know the NRM manifesto, so we give them priority.
There was a question on the manual for the Parish Development Management Information System. We are going to avail copies to the committee. The manual is online. PDM Secretariat has the information online, but we're going to avail hard copies, both hard and soft copies, to the committee. In regard to Honorable Bagala still talked about parishes not having connectivity and devices for the parish chiefs were supposed to update the parish development management information system. For now, the 48% we have talked about that has been registered for the households, we focused and concentrated on the registration. We have teams that went to the parishes to do the registration of these households, but we are in the process of acquiring at least a device per parish. And with the projects that have the projects that or the loan that has been approved, we are guaranteed of extension of connectivity to 80% of this country. So we believe that in the next 1 year we are going to have extended connectivity and the parishes will be connected. But we also ride and leverage on the connectivity we have from the private sector, MTN, Airtel, and then that will complement this connectivity.
At the time of submission of the details of the staff in acting capacity, can the PS also give us information on details of those few schools that benefited from the ICT infrastructure?
Okay.
Yeah.
In the last financial year?
Yes.
Oh, so, okay.
Chair.
In this year and the
In
last,
this-
yes, we shall.
Yes,
Chair.
Kambale.
When the PS is talking, we are talking to an accounting officer.
Yes.
According to the documents we have, the approved budget for the ministry is 124 billion. Now, so far, you have declared more than 124 billion, 83 billion first quarter, second quarter, 50 billion. That is over 133 billion. Yet the financials in this document are indicating budget allocation for the whole year, 124 billion. Meaning, when you are bringing this information to us, create a column for adjusted budget that is running. No, it's not adjusted, because that means the running budget is even more than what you are telling us, because their allocation, their budget is 124 billion, and so far the releases for the 2 quarters are shooting to 133 billion. Meaning what you have indicated to us is less compared to what we are even going to get. That's why we are saying, when we are urging the Minister of Finance, have these figures quantified properly, because already these figures you are telling us are misleading. What you say is the budget is already less than the releases so far. Check your records. So let your finance department be careful. If there is a budget that was approved, if there were adjustments, let them be captured so that we move with a better figure. Otherwise, the releases for the 2 quarters so far are higher than what you have indicated as budget for 2022-2023.
Yes, Honorable Chair and members, I did not, the question that I spoke to was how much has been released.
Yes.
But what has been released includes a supplementary budget.
Yes, but
for the pensioners.
It's not indicated.
We are going to adjust and give our report that will speak to that and speak to what is supplementary, what was approved, and what has been released to date.
And itemized by agency. So
Yes.
that we also, because some of the duplicity we are seeing in that report will now be sorted if we can see agency by agency.
Yeah.
Okay.
We shall do that. I will ask the EDUCC to speak to the rate at which the ICT sector is growing.
Yeah.
Madam PS, I have a report about the half-year performance and the details from the Ministry of Finance. They indicate that you've only received 121 billion. So where are you getting this one?
PS.
Which one?
Now, can you share that document?
Yes.
Because it would be nice for them to refer to.
Is this from finance?
And that one is from them, I thought. That's from yes.
Is this from Ministry of Finance of what has been released to date? Yeah, let me compute what I have submitted vis-a-vis this document.
Okay, you can.
I'll do that shortly.
Honourable Minister, somebody else can be answering as you.
I will hand over to Irene, EDUCC.
By the way, Honourable Minister,
growth.
and the PS, this document is coming from our shadow. So we may need to authenticate the document, but let them look at the numbers as other people respond.
That's okay, Honorable Chair. But I also want the PS to be looking at, it should give us the figure for the pensioners of Uganda Post and Telecommunications.
Yes.
Because it is also being released to the ministry and the people think it is our money. And yes, it's not. Yeah. But Irene now, but I will also ask you, Chair, the UBC MD is here. He will make his presentation, then the poster, and then the institute and the NITA-U, and then Ofono Pondo is also here. Today you will not do the listening. You should also talk to your sector.
Yeah, Chair, please, since it's Irene going to speak, I would like to raise something that I think she should be able to respond to or address. As Uganda Communications Commission, when it comes to media people, journalists, reporters making mistakes, the UCC is very fast to prevail over those journalists. But when the journalists are sinned against, especially by media owners, especially private media owners, I rarely see the UCC come in. When it comes to reporters not being paid, but when it comes to the license, the UCC is very quick to ask for the license, not the welfare of the journalists or reporters that work for those media houses. I have had reports. I am going to find out about CTV laying off all its employees. Well, I would like to know what UCC thinks about this, since they oversee the media houses. But also recently, there's a female journalist at Success FM who was left in hospital. She was pregnant and got complications and nothing happened. But when the reporter has made a mistake, the UCC is very quick to write the letters, suspension, mania what. I don't know why they're not quick to suspend media houses when they're not meeting their obligations in terms of salary and welfare of the reporters that work for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene. Is there somebody from Media Council here? Okay. Yeah, no, Media Center I saw, but I was thinking Media, but yes, Irene.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the honorable members. Thank you to my minister and the PS. I'll start with the question on vibrance of the ICT sector. Yes, the ICT sector has three subcomponents. That's telecom, broadcasting, and postal and courier. And yes, we may say that some are slagging due to the technologies that have advanced. But when we talk about the vibrance of the sector, we're speaking about the fact that it's very dynamic. We have, despite the fact that we talk about population growth, we've had increase in uptake of services. So over the years, we've been observing an increase in uptake of services. We started with a focus on voice, but now the focus is on broadband. And to put it in context, also, it is worth noting that according to the UBOS abstract of 2021, the ICT sector contribution to GDP was 1.8%, and the ICT sector growth was 11.8%. I don't have with me the ones for 2021-22, but looking at how the sector has been performing over the years, that is what brings us to say vibrance. And one may look at the teledensity and feel like there is no growth in figures, but the teledensity is calculated based on the population. So whereas the uptake of services is growing, we also have a population growth. And also to put that in context, we have to note the percentage of Uganda's population that's below 18 years. And that is why, as a sector, we are looking at interventions of how to safely provide that category also with ICTs. We also note that we have a lot of innovation, and which we celebrate as a sector, that whereas government has prioritized innovation, this is one sector that provides a number of opportunities for innovation. And indeed, we've seen a lot of innovative services and applications coming in the sector. Regarding the aspect of coverage, yes, as a country, we are not yet at 100%. I'll go through various technologies. As a country, we are open. We have not limited ourselves to a particular technology, but as a country, we find, due to the history, whereas other people used to use fixed lines, we were disadvantaged in that respect, but we leapfrogged, and many of our people mainly use wireless. So when it comes to the 2G technology, which is what most people use for the small feature phones, we are at 99% coverage of population, but 78% coverage in terms of geography. And the reason for that disparity is the way the distribution of our population is. There are some areas that are not as populated as others. Now, when it comes to 3G and 4G, and someone may wonder what is the fuss, why do we keep talking about 3G and 4G? It's like using a straw to drink, say, porridge. If you use a very thin straw, you're going to take so much time to be able to finish your cup of porridge. The bigger the straw, the faster it is. So the same way with our technology, 3G is slower, 4G is faster. So as a country, to get most benefits, we'd want more people using 4G technology. But currently on 3G, which is the more historical one, we have 87% of the population that is covered, and 53% geographical coverage. On 4G, we have 37% population coverage and 11% geographical coverage. Now, it's also important for us as a committee or as a sector to recognize that coverage does not translate into usage because of the various factors that have already been discussed. For example, the issue of devices. If you don't have a device, you can't connect to the internet. Or if you don't have a public facility that you can go to, you cannot connect. As a government, what are we doing? Yes, we want coverage across the country. Currently in the world, there's no country yet that has achieved the 100%, but all of us are aspiring to get 100%. And we are doing it through two main ways. We are using the commercial, so we license the providers. And as the minister has already mentioned, there is now a 90% geographical, not population, geographical coverage obligation for the operators. So that, yes, they can go where the money is, but they also extend to some other areas that are not viable. Then as government, we are also intervening with the NBI investment that has already been mentioned, and also the Uganda Communications Universal Service and Access Fund, where what we have done is we know that there are areas where it is unviable because the revenues from those areas are too low compared to the cost of maintaining the masts or the communication services in those areas. So what we are doing is providing a subsidy to the tower companies so that they go into those areas, but they don't charge the rent they would have charged without the subsidy, which rental increases the cost to the operators. So this subsidy is to help reduce that cost and make it possible for these other operators to go in and provide services in line with their obligation. The minister, the chairman actually mentioned challenges that the operators are facing in respect of this. Yes, maybe before I go into that, it is also important for us to know that one of the reasons we have challenges in coverage are actually obstacles. Today there is a building, like now, as soon as I sat here, I can envisage Parliament is going to need additional infrastructure to make sure you have connectivity inside because of the thickness of the new building. So that kind of concrete wall affects penetration of some of the radio signals. So this is especially affecting areas like downtown Kampala and some of the other areas. Even hills and weird living trees can affect penetration of services. The signal waves going through. So this requires more enhancement. Unfortunately, the communities fear radiation because of all the myths that have been put out there, cancer, and all these theories that are out there. So there is, much as the population says they want coverage, and yet they need the masts to provide coverage, they don't want the masts in their localities because of the fears of the health reasons. And this has also impacted the ease of getting permission, the permits that the chairman was speaking about from NEMA, KCCA. So we have significant delays because of that pushback from different communities to be able to get permits. In some sites, we have sites that are reported to have been 300 days before getting, yet our community says we want coverage, or a member of parliament will report there is no coverage in the area, but they can't put connectivity in that place if the permission has not been granted. We also have, for example, in Gulu, where the civil aviation issue is again impacting the kind of authorization that can be granted. You want the towers to go high, but because of the airport that's being built, that authorization cannot be granted. Wildlife authorities, another one, the minister has spoken about the obligation to take to the park. All of us trying to make sure we protect the environment. There is again that concern. So the cost of setting up a mast in the park being more expensive than that of setting up in Kampala, yet the economics is such that it is us as a country that stand to benefit. However, we thank that our colleagues did hear the cry of the different stakeholders and have again since addressed this. The schools that have benefited from the ICT infrastructure, yes, that will be provided. And to the shadow minister, in respect of when people make mistakes vis-a-vis holding the media houses accountable, Uganda Communications Commission licenses the media houses. So we do not go after the journalists even when they make mistakes. We go after the media houses because it's the media houses that we have licensed. However, I think the reason why the chairman was asking about the Media Council, because the Media Council regulates the journalists. And we've been having this discussion with the journalists. They brought the concerns to our attention in terms of their welfare and the treatment by employers. And we have made significant progress in that respect. Initially, we had aspects about them not even being contracted or having any relations. And that at least has improved in terms of making sure that the respective licensees are required to have formal arrangements with their employees. Yes, we can have freelance, but even a freelance should have some kind of formal commitment to know their expectations. And then regarding how they address the operators, again, we've also addressed the National Association of Broadcasters and the Rural Broadcasters Association in respect of their membership. Yes, we know that right now, globally, the broadcasting industry is suffering the impact of technology change. So you find that many are struggling. For many who look at the broadcasting industry as lucrative, traditionally they depend on advertising. Now with technology, you find that a lot of advertising has shifted and is being done on social media and all these other platforms. So this has taken away revenue from the broadcasting houses. And with them then left so many, because we have an open market as a country and they are competing for the same pot. Some of them are not able to attract the necessary advertising to keep them in business. And that is why now we see some of them struggling to be able to survive in the sector. And what we are looking at is it might not be sufficient to only intervene at the broadcasters level. We have, as a country, to set up an ecosystem that enables our journalists in such instances to be able to move on and also address the developments that are in the creative industry. This actually also extends to those who are selling content to the broadcasters. So we have to address it in a holistic manner rather than only in the respect of journalists. I normally tell the journalists that, by the way, when we are talking about journalists, even the cleaners in those organizations need to be paid. So it's about addressing all persons in the same industry. Mr. Chairman and members, with that I submit.
Thank you very much. UBC or Minister? UBC? All right.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Honorable members. UBC's story dates back to the time when UBC was formed in 2005 by the Act of Parliament. At that point, UBC was supposed to be funded using resources from the TV tax, because a benchmark had been carried out with BBC and South African Broadcasting Corporation. How were they surviving? They were surviving from a tax that funds the national broadcaster. It's so unfortunate that we might be the only peculiar national broadcaster in Africa, if not worldwide, that is not directly funded by government. As we speak, you might be cognizant of the fact that UBC, we are a subvention, we are not even a vote. And I think that's where the starting point that I would want the committee really to, let's look at the root cause and not the symptoms. The root cause was from inception, I would say it was a stillbirth. We inherited debts from UTV, inherited debts from Radio Uganda, which we are still clearing up to today. UEB bills are with us. Some of you are young, you might not know even what UEB is. Uganda Electricity Broadcasting Board. Sorry, I'm so much into broadcasting. Yeah. So we inherited debt from UEB that was incurred by the Ministry of Information then, because Radio Uganda and UTV were under the Ministry of Information. Now, when the idea was mooted that UBC could run on the same platform like the other national broadcasters that were benchmarked, they said, okay, fine, UBC become a self-accounting body. You'll be getting money from the TV tax. A company actually was even contracted from South Africa, I think by UCC. It wasn't even called UCC then, to come and collect that tax. But then there was a presidential directive, do not collect the tax. At that point, people did not address the bigger question. How is this newborn baby supposed to survive? So we started off with debts. We started off by incurring more debt. As I speak today, we've strived over the last 5 or so years. And I think the chairman today is, there's no other better person than him hearing this story, because he was my board chairman. He recruited me. He knows the actual pain that we have suffered all these years. So what happens? We incur debt. What Umeme does when it comes in place is, well, you have failed to pay us our money. So what we shall do, all your sites shall be connected to Yaka. And every money that you load, 60% is knocked off to pay the old debt. We have been doing that for the last 6-7 years. Right now, the Umeme debt outstanding is about 6 billion. Yeah. That is part of the story. But the bigger picture, which I would really want the committee to interest, and we requested for an engagement as UBC to give you the total picture. Because people have not appreciated the fact that as a national broadcaster, when we have national events, it's Independence Day, it's Heroes Day, we are in Kololo, we are in all the parts of the country. When we are transmitting that picture live, until the technology just came recently of doing the live view using the IP, the internet protocol, we were paying satellite hourly. Every hour would be $500. So as we are waiting and enjoying the entertainment of the traditional dancers, for us, the pain is, when is this function ending? And all that money accumulates. So we found ourselves now, like we have a debt with the satellite provider, which we have been servicing, but it got to a point, right now the debt is about 3.5 billion. It wouldn't be much money. I want to thank the minister and the PS. All efforts were done to make sure that the last World Cup that was that we managed to broadcast, government released money, 1.5 billion, that was paid to FIFA, but that was a package that is even giving us the Africa Cup of Nations that is starting, and we're going to have all the matches. And we also have 4 other events, international events lined up, under 20, under 18, all those are in that package. But the satellite provider requested us to give a commitment, and we pushed the minister. Honorable Kabyanga here wrote to us a very nice letter to the provider. We are committing because the ICT committee has appropriated 24 billion. First quarter, if not second quarter, we are clearing you. As I speak right now, what UBC received is 3.4 billion out of 15 billion we're expecting. Out of the 3.4, knock off 1.5 that went to FIFA for the sporting rights. Sporting rights are very expensive. Many people might ask, but what happened in the past? We used to watch World Cup. We used to watch all this. That is in the past. Sports has been commercialized heavily. Even the World Cup, if those of you who are watching on the free-to-air platform that UBC was broadcasting, and that's what all national broadcasters in Africa had, we had less than half the matches. All the so-called juicy matches were left to the pay TV platform because that's how they make their money. So what am I saying here? The little that we were left with after knocking off the 1.5, then we struggle to pay salaries. Then whatever internally generated resources goes into struggling to keep afloat. Many media houses here will agree with me. Honorable Bagala was always with us. Our journalists always come on borders. When all the others are chauffeured in branded cars. And people say, but why don't you have cars? You are government. The other request that we have already tabled to the Prime Minister is to allow us to, if resources come in, we want to leave the adage of government does not buy second-hand cars. We need to buy the cars that everyone here uses. But when it comes to the bureaucracy of procurement, government doesn't procure second-hand cars. We are getting a waiver. We have already talked to the Prime Minister. She's agreed that indeed, why do we buy one car that could buy 5 cars and do the same job? So the funding issue, Honorable Chair, Honorable Minister and members, a national broadcaster worldwide is as good as a road infrastructure. You do not put road tolls on all the roads that we have made in this country to recoup the investment of the road. And unfortunately, when you look at the loop side of things, we are talking about mindset change. Honorable members, if we cannot address this issue of mindset change, then we shall continue only financing businesses that do not bring revenue to this country without getting into any attacks or whatever. All the pay TV stations in this country are smiling all the way to their capitals because we are donating money to them. You'll believe if you reflected on your own home consumption of TV. Most of us are on the pay TV platform because we want to watch the local stations. Yet, the infrastructure that was financed by government through UCC that put up the 18 sites, the digital terrestrial transmission sites, DTT sites, can make sure that at least 70% of the country can receive free-to-air signals of all the local channels. If the 18 sites that are up are facilitated, because of the 18 sites, every month we need 240 million shillings for Umeme alone, before we talk about standby generators and all that. So we generate money, but then we recoup it in the system to make sure we are afloat. That's why no one day have you seen that UBC has been off air. But it is at a pain. So what I was saying, if the 18 sites are up and running, 70% of this country will be able to access free-to-air TV signals. Right now, the majority of people are all on the pay TV platform. So we are donating money to MultiChoice, to GOTV, to StarTimes, to Zook, to all these platforms that are charging us money, that money would be saved if we strategically invested in communication. And if we strategically invest in these communication platforms, the issues of mindset change. What are people watching on these other platforms? Are they watching Nigerian movies? Do they add value to our heritage? Do they inculcate values in our society, or it's just fun and entertainment? The other issue of national broadcasting, I mean, when you tune into BBC, I don't think you've ever tuned in and you had an advert for Omo, for Vim, for beer and all that. They don't rely on advertising. But tune into UBC, you'll see all the adverts. There are some that we cannot take as a national broadcaster because they are not in consonance with our editorial policy. So, Mr. Chairman, like I alluded to, I would really want to have an interaction with the committee where we present all the facts, like Honorable Company has requested, because the truth of the matter is we need to rethink about the communication platforms in this country.
Thank you.
And the number one is the government platform. We do not only run TV channels, and that's the misnomer that some people have. When they hear UBC, you only think about TV. We run 11 FM radio stations around the country. The 11 radio stations around the country broadcast in at least more than 30 local languages. How best is it to communicate to our populace and not in their local dialect? When we're in Kasese, I know, Honorable Florence, you have complained several times. My minister calls me and says, but the signal of the radio is bad. We know the cause, but we are constrained. We have no resources. The last retreat we had, I think you will agree with me, I talked with a lot of conviction. Like Honorable Haji was saying that our minister talks with a lot of conviction. The ministry has fronted our case. The Parliamentary Committee of ICT has appropriated money. How do I feel to talk with authority?
So I think Winston, you have the members hooked properly. Even some were asking about the information if you have a document.
Yeah.
I think, as I was discussing with the minister, we are going to have an interaction to discuss this in detail. So don't worry, you can summarize, okay. But we are going to try as soon as possible to find interaction with you to see how to deal with this issue as urgently as possible.
Thank you, Chairman and members. As I summarize, I think the workings of government, the different arms of government, we need to lobby such that when Parliament appropriates, if finance cannot release 50%, then do 20%. But you do 10% and expect everything to continue. I think somebody alluded to the fact that we seem to brush over the fact that things are normal. They have been very abnormal since 2005, and they are still abnormal. We tried to address that. We approached the president when Honorable Frank Mwebase was there. We had a one-on-one. He directed Minister of Finance to give us 20 million for revamp. Minister of Finance, in their wisdom, gave us 12. Staggered along the period. It couldn't do much, but we covered the first round of the revamp of UBC. We recruited, we bought some equipment, and we have been living with hope since 2017 when that money came in.
Winston, you are part of a politician. I'm going to withdraw the mic from you because I know you keep going.
Thank you, Chair, but that is just a sneak peek of the actual problem. If we can delve deep and find the root cause and not the symptoms, all you see are just symptoms. But the root cause, without financing, then we can as well just go commercial, close up some sectors, go back to the UTV days, open at 5, close at midnight, which is a cake. It can't happen. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Winston.
I beg to submit.
Thank you very much. Minister, it is now, Nita, does Dr. Shitogo have to say anything about UICT? Okay, so Hatib first. Okay.
Thank you, Chair and members. I will comment on the question on how many districts are connected to the NBI. Currently, we completed the last mile or RC project that brought close to 60 districts. 60, yes. 437 kilometers of fiber optic cable. The benefit was that we also got more connections or people using the fiber and the internet. Initially, or before the RC project, we had about 60 agencies, 600 agencies connected to the NBI. Currently, we are at 1,400 agencies. These are ministries, districts, and departments that are connected to the NBI. We also have the private sector consuming services through the NBI from the private internet service providers. Among the, I believe there are about 22 private internet service providers, 19 of them are connected to the NBI. That brought up the usage on the NBI, and it's one of the achievements of the sector. That also answers the previous project achievements. It brought up the usage of internet services in Uganda. Thank you, members and chair.
Before you go off, Hatfiba, I wanted you to highlight to the members, what does the next project, is? What do they expect for the sector?
I talked of another loan coming, and there's already one processed. It would be good to also say which area is going to cover. Something brief about these two fundings already approved, and then the one you're planning.
So unlike Winston, Hatfiba is not so much of a politician. These politicians are asked in the constituency, "You on the ICT committee? What are you doing? What are you going to bring us?" So in that angle, what should they expect in terms of service delivery, government services? What are you going to do in the next two?
Thank you, Chair and members. In the next projects, we intend to lay fiber in all the districts of Uganda, and also roll out last mile connectivity. There's a backhaul, what we call the national backbone. This is a highway. And then there's also the last mile. Now these are the distributors that go all the way to the offices of government. So we intend to do that in the next project, in the next loan. We intend also to use a mix of technologies, as the minister and also UCC said that technology changes and it's very fast. Fiber optic cable is the fastest speed of accessing internet, but we also want to roll out Wi-Fi, or we shall be rolling out Wi-Fi hotspots all over the country. We also want to roll out the GSM masts, what MTN and Airtel use. We want to also put that within our next rollout to enable connectivity in all ways. So it's not just only on laptops, but also on phones. So on your phone, you'll also be able to access this internet. That is for the next phase. Thank you.
Okay, I was thinking I would get more from it. We were in immigration as a committee, and they told us that if we pass that loan, we are going to have all the border posts. Some of our colleagues here come from border posts and what. So they were saying that if we pass the loan, you are going to enhance the services at the immigration. So maybe the government services, something to do. You remember we were talking about coordination of all government information.
Yes.
Are you going to enhance that?
Yes, thank you, Chair. For the project, what we will do is we intend to connect. Right now, we have 1,400 agencies that are connected to the NBI. When we roll out this project, we intend to connect at least 5,000 additional agencies. And all the border post points, all the Ministry of Finance accounting points, parish development model, as the Minister has stated, every key point of interest for government shall be connected or shall be prioritized to be connected. We intend to connect at least 80% of government services and ensure 60% are being utilized by the citizens. And this will bring down the cost of internet, to bring down, it also bring in revenue, bring in new innovations. There are a couple of things that we intend to do in the next project. The timelines, we are waiting the final approval or the final we submitted the contract to the Solicitor General and waiting for it to be approved and then signed. So once it is signed, then the project will kick off. That will be in about, I'll give and take about 1 to 2 months.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Dr. Shitogo.
Chair, just to mention that in that project, we are also expecting that all the UBC sites are going to be hooked onto.
Yes, the national backbone.
and that will bring the cost of satellite usage.
Yes, down.
It's a big one.
It's a big one, yes.
Yeah.
The 50,000 points of connection, UBC shall be among. UBC has been spec'd. The new UTL has also been spec'd. There are many government agencies that need internet. Revenue, Uganda Revenue Authority, Immigration, Minister of Health, all of them have come to us to connect them onto the NBI. So there are so many benefits that will come with this new project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Dr. Shitogo. Musa, you had put your hand. They've sorted it?
A brief one. I wanted to know how the rationalization will affect this program, whether they've integrated well in the ministry.
Yes.
The rationalization.
It's for the minister. The minister will.
The rationalization went well. You are going to deliver. It has not affected you.
Musa, don't cause Hatwib problems answering that question. Let the minister answer for him. He may start cutting his head off.
Thank you, Chair.
Dr. Shitogo.
Thank you, Chair, and members, and thank you, Honorable Minister, PS, and my colleagues. I just want to start, Chair, by thanking the Ministry of ICT and this committee for having approved the funding for government-sponsored students. Since the Institute started, we didn't have government-sponsored students, yet it's a government institution. So I want to thank this committee, and we got the first lot of funding, and we actually have enrolled 1,200 students over that period, which is a big boost. What the Institute is doing, we are reviewing our curriculum, and we have developed courses to match the fourth industrial revolution technologies and others. And we are getting a lot of partnerships and training very many people in terms of digital skills, including government employees and also private sector. But Chair and members, this comes with another problem. The premises that we have cannot manage to take on all those students. Although we are doing a blended form of teaching, but we have had an increase of 1,200 students. So because those are the first and second years. So we need to have support in terms of having our enhancement of the infrastructure to be able to accommodate those. So we need about 10 billion. It's part of the master plan that we worked with the UCC to develop, to improve the infrastructure to be able to accommodate those. So we need that funding. It's an unfunded priority. But also, Chair and members, with all that we have done and the courses that we have in place now, we did an HR study to identify the HR needs that we have to have in place to be able to deliver those courses and also to handle the increasing number of students. So currently we are at, I would say, 30% in terms of the staffing, and we are getting constrained in terms of being able to deliver the trainings. We are depending so much on part-timers, which is not allowed actually by National Council of Higher Education. So we need also support for provision of salaries and or remuneration for those staff. And we are looking at about 400 million. So that's also an unfunded priority. So we need support in that area. Another area I want to talk about is we got a grant of $25 million to develop an augmented and virtual reality center to enable the teaching of science subjects, STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and innovation. So we thought that that would assist the region, not only UICT, but the region and other institutions.
Of ICT and national guidance utale tugenda kuba tuvaayo naye enteekateekezo tujja kuba tuzikuŋŋaanyiza mawulire gaffe aga business today essaawa zijja kubeera 3 katusooke ne twetoolemu tuyise obulamu bw'akamaffe tukomawo tulina bingi bye tuleese mu program Uganda Ole